Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Tonight we head to the Monterey Peninsula and WeatherTech Raceway at Laguna Seca. Although repaved this winter in real life for the first time in over 15 years, this 66-year-old circuit has been known for years for its low grip surface, and it's still that way in the sim. And then there's that 180 feet of elevation change with the always daunting corkscrew, a prime contributor with a twist, a turn, and a 5.5-story drop that will no doubt catch many of our racers out tonight. Welcome to Ray Esports Racing League, presented by Grassroots Motorsports Magazine, Spec Racer Sports, Common Gear, and Grass Paddock Motorsports here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Greg Ginsburg, along with Jack Ritchie in the commentary booth, and of course we've got Lee Thompson bringing you all the great views of tonight's action. And for those of you joining us for the very first time, it's a good thing you're doing it because it's the last week of the regular season. We have 4 different classes. We've got Spec Racer Ford, Spec Miata, as well as 2 different touring car classes, one featuring the Volkswagen Jetta TDI Cup cars, the other featuring the Toyota GR86 Cup cars. And in each class, they're going to race 6 times over the course of our 9-week season. And it is, as I mentioned, week number 9. And the Spec Racer Fords, they concluded their season 2 weeks ago at the Circuit of the Americas. So tonight, we have the last 2 20-minute sprint races of the regular season. First up is going to be Spec Miata. You can see them on track now, hopefully going out for their qualifying session, followed by our 2 touring car classes. They're going to be sharing the track for the final time this season. And so, good evening, Jack. How are you doing tonight? And welcome to Laguna Seca.
Hey, Greg, I'm doing well. Tonight, these drivers have a really big challenge, as you mentioned earlier, with the elevation changes and the twists and turns of Laguna. Man, it's going to be some exciting racing tonight, I do believe, because, I mean, as you see right here, we already have people running off the track. It's really easy to do here. There's nowhere to run off, really. The last corner, you have this little green piece, and other than that, you're in the sand. So
that's it. As we watch Megan Overstreet put the car around at the final corner, turn 11. And like I said, it's definitely a low grip surface here, and you've got that sand and you got that dirt on the outside of the track. But you've got a lot of that sand and a lot of that dirt you can see there over at turn 5 that gets dragged onto the surface by our racers, and it really makes for a challenging race. You not only have to worry about getting your race tires up to speed at the beginning of a race, you have to worry about maximizing your entry and exit into many of these corners, but you have to worry about just sliding off the race course if you're not just inch perfect. Let's do this, Jack. Why don't we turn things over, as we have been doing all season long, to Morgan Burkhardt, and he's going to give us a track guide tonight to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
Hello everyone, I'm Morgan Burkhardt with Parallel Racing Group, and welcome to the 2.25 mile, 11 corner WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, one of my favorite tracks in the United States. It's exceedingly technical as we're coming up the front straight up this hill into turn 1, which is a very fast, flat out left-hand kink, and pretty much everything I've ever driven here. Down the hill, hard braking zone, really going to open up, use that pavement on the right-hand side into the Andretti hairpins, turns 2 and 3. Really going to try and roll speed. It's super easy to just plop it right off the road on the exit and then putting power down into turn 3. 2 double right-hand corners coming up here. Really going to want to use the entrance curbing and the exit curbing just to really open up all of these corners as much as you can, rolling as much speed as possible through them, coming down this little straight into turn number 6. Very fast as it is banked and uphill, so you can really run the car in, use the elevation to your advantage to slow it down and carry as much speed up this very, very important hill into the kink. Very important to get those left wheels into that little dip right next to the sausage curbing, but not hit the sausage curbing because it'll basically put you into orbit coming up the hill into the infamous corkscrew, braking directly over the crest of the hill, using the camber to your advantage, falling down 3 stories and then out of the corkscrew. It's a very fast corner and into this flowing left-hand corner. Most of these corners are cambered, so you can carry a lot of speed, as well as this one cambered as well. Coming into the final corner, really going to focus on the exit out of here. Entrance curbing yet again, using little sausage on the apex to rotate it, running out all the way, using all this rumble strip and AstroTurf, and getting a run down the front straight, which is uphill. So it leads into many very good passing zones, and that is a lap of WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
And thanks so much to Morgan Burkhardt for tonight's track guide of WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. And so, Jack, you know, as I've been watching qualifying, we've been following Florence Arabian, driver the number 42 Mazda Miata here, Mazda MX-5 around, and I was watching his lap while Morgan was doing his track guide. And, you know, we talk about, especially with these MX-5s, how you can really adjust their attitude with your feet, maybe not so much having to use the steering wheel to guide the car around, but you know, a little more application of throttle here, a little less there, a little bit of left foot braking can do a lot for getting the car rotated. But I'll tell you, as I was watching Florence around this track, and much more smooth through the Andretti hairpin now, he might as well have been running in a Formula Drift competition, because he was having to go opposite lock through almost every single corner on this course.
Yeah, and a lot of these drivers are going to be battling that with these cars. I mean, these cars are slick as it is, especially on cold tires. So, I mean, maybe it was a tactic for him on his warm-up lap to warm up his tires. I'm not sure. But it's just a really tough car. I mean, that's all you can really say about it. And putting them at a tough track like this, it's going to be a recipe for some exciting racing, I think. And
yeah, I was gonna say we've already got like a count going for how many drivers are gonna spin coming out of turn 11, the final corner.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be one of the big spots, right? Because it's easy to overdrive it, and the hairpin's gonna be interesting as well. Like, there's just so many corners on this track that we're gonna have to watch tonight, because there's not very many corners that are just safe. I mean, maybe turn 1 and 2.
Yeah, well, in turn 2, the Andretti hairpin, certainly not a safe corner. You know, as Morgan was talking about during his track guide, a lot of the corners here are fairly heavily cambered, and so they do help the car quite a bit. And that's assuming you can get the car into the groove. If you are just a half a car width off, you know, again, it's not necessarily a recipe for disaster, but it might be a recipe for going for a long ride through the dust and dirt here. As we're just about 12 minutes into qualifying now. Your provisional pole sitter is Giancarlo Schooler, and he put in 3 flying laps and decided to wait it out in the pits. His provisional pole time of 136.20. That is now just about 0.6 of a second up or so, or probably 0.6 up on Beans Forster, who's got a 136.79 in the books. Megan Overstreet, third fastest here. And now Morgan Burkhardt, who gave us that track guide, he crosses the stripe, and on his 4th flying lap, Burkhardt moves up to the provisional outside pole with a 136.57, so still almost 0.4 of a second off of Schooler's pole time.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the different sectors that we have on our scoring here, and it looks like Sector 3 is where Giancarlo's just able to, I'm not really sure what he's doing differently, but he's a lot faster than most of the other people on the track. I mean, every other sector on the track, it's really close between him and Morgan, maybe a tenth or half a tenth, and then in Sector 3, it's about 0.2. So there's something that Giancarlo's doing in that area of the track that's much different than other drivers, and it seems to be working for him at the moment.
And I wonder if it's all being done in this little section here where we saw Megan Overstreet. When you come out of the corkscrew and you go down the rainy curve, that is a section of the track that a lot of drivers, they're kind of hesitant to get on the throttle. That is one of the corners that is not heavily cambered. And it is very easy to get some terminal understeer through there. And maybe he just found a way to get the car rotated and get the car down to the apex and shoot down the hill. But let's do this quickly, Jack, as we've got just about a minute left on the clock. I want to quickly go and take a look, because we mentioned that the Spec Racer Fords, they wrapped things up 2 weeks ago at the Circuit of the Americas. And in that final race of their regular season, Morgan Burkhardt took the win, a commanding win over Miles Crabb, almost 4 full seconds. Crabb, who was fighting it out with Giancarlo Schooler almost the entire way. Schooler finished only 0.3 of a second back in third, then Beans Forster and Josh Soto, your top 5. And if we take a look at the championship standings with all 6 races for Spec Racer Ford in the books, Miles Crabb is your regular season champion with 99 points, 19 up on Josh Soto, who's going to finish second. And then Megan Overstreet drops down to third. Now, going into that last race, Megan Overstreet was your points leader, and she was not there for the final race, and no drops in this league. And so she does drop from first to third, and finishes only 2 points back from Josh Soto. Another person caught out by that, Skip Brock Jr., who dropped from third all the way down to 6th in the standings, behind Josh Soto and Morgan Burkhardt. So if you take a look there, from Overstreet down to Skip Brock Jr., pretty darn tight. Only about 8 points separating all of them there, but almost 20 folks in the championship this season. Congratulations to Miles Crabb. We'll see if he can take another win and another championship in a week's time when we go to our Ray Esports runoffs. But looks like the checkered flag is out on the session here, Jack, and Schooler. There's still the opportunity there. I think Burkhardt is still out on track, and a few other drivers as well. Oh, nope, Burkhardt's just checked in. He completed his last flying lap and didn't get ahead. We're watching Jeremy Shepard right now trying to move out of 16th position here, but it looks like Giancarlo Schooler might have secured himself a pole on the very last race of the season.
Yeah, and like we talked about earlier, it looked like that Sector 3 time was just what did him in. I mean, he ran at 23.49, and Morgan ran at 23.72, and that's a pretty sizable gap for one sector, right?
Yeah,
so,
and when you look that the margin between the two was 36 hundredths of a second, that's your difference right there. All right, a few last drivers coming across. Shepard did not improve. Joaquin Effinger runs his fastest lap of the session, but it's only good for 17th. And we're watching Caleb Pocock right now, driver number 88 machine. He's looking to improve on his believe 12th position qualifying time as he comes up to the line. Let's see if he can improve upon a 138.71. And that last time by, no, he turns in a 144.5, one of his slowest lap times of the session. And I'm fairly certain here as he's heading up the hill that Wozencroft had already completed his last flying lap and had already taken the checkered flag here, Jack. Currently showing as qualified 7th, and indeed, Wozencroft will go back to the pits, and we're going to have our drivers gridding up here in just a moment. All right, you want to do the honors tonight, Jack?
Yeah, I can do it for us. On row 1, we have Giancarlo Schooler and Morgan Burkhardt. Starting 3rd, we have Beans Forrester, and 4th, Megan Overstreet. Row 3, we have Miles Crabb and Forenz Arabian. Row 4, we have Andrew Wozencroft and Charlie Vaccaro. Row 5, we have Jonathan Murchison and Jim Brewster. Row 6, Trenton Kramer and Caleb Pocock. Row 7, we have rolling off Michael Snow from Texas. And 14th, we have Mark Sherman. 15th, Wayne Buttermore. 16th, Jeremy Shepard. 17th, Joaquin Effinger. And starting 18th, who did not set down a time, is Antonio Reganet.
Yeah, we'll have to see if Antonio joins the field here tonight. When he has raced, he's been very strong, a very strong qualifier. But we'll see how things play out here as our pace car waiting for Jonathan Murchison to appear, and should then start on the pace lap here of 11 turn, 2.24 mile, say 2.25 mile. WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, and there you go, the two teammates, Giancarlo Schooler and Morgan Burkhardt. They're starting off on the front row. So, Jack, as our drivers are going to take their sighting lap, take their pace lap here around WeatherTech Raceway, let's talk about our sponsor for tonight's first race, and that's Grassroots Motorsports Magazine. Built for the true sports car enthusiast, Grassroots Motorsports has one mission, and that's to be your personal guide to the sports car world. Whether it's online at grassrootsmotorsports.com, in print, or in person, the racers and builders, the car nerds at Grassroots Motorsports take you behind the scenes and show you how to make your car better. Along the way, they'll give you a taste of everything this hobby has to offer, from 1,000 horsepower track monsters to cool street cars built in driveways. And they also maintain a collection of staff-built project cars, because hands-on technical articles, they're not typed behind a desk, they're scribbled down in the garage. To not only read but become part of the story, head on over to grassrootsmotorsports.com. And we see at least Giancarlo Schooler, Jack, trying to get some heat in those tires. Trying to move from side to side, lean on those sidewalls a little bit. A lot of the other drivers, you may see the brake lights going on and off. Of course, as they're going up the Rahal Straight, you may not see that, but a couple of the drivers there getting into the brakes, trying to get some heat into the wheels themselves, and hence heat up the tires as well.
Right, I've heard on iRacing that the brakes actually do a lot more to warm up the tires than the weaving does. So, I'm not sure how much that's helping for them. But
it's not all that different in real life. Also, depends on the car, depends on the wheels, but and also depends on the width of the rubber. But certainly for the rubber that these cars are taking, that should definitely be the case. All right, pace cars on the pit lane. Giancarlo Schooler, he's got the field. His teammate to his right, directly beside him, that's Morgan Burkhardt, as they wait for the green flag to fly. And we're racing at Laguna Seca as they are underway, 20 minutes to the checkered flag. Beans Forster trying to push Giancarlo Schooler up to the lead, jumping now quickly to the outside. Forenz Arabian in the 42 machine in that pink and white. He's going to make up a number of positions going around the outside. Arabian, one of the drivers in another Esports Racing League, in the Weekend Warriors Spec Racer Ford League, and he has made up, I believe, 2 positions already. It could have been 3, as Beans Forster holds off that attack coming through Andretti through turn 3, as they now enter the double left-handers here at 3 and 4.
Yeah, him and Morgan were the most aggressive. We has one almost saving it. I don't know if he did. Oh, and he's in the wall.
And that's Caleb Pocock going around, coming out of turn 4. That's going to drop him back to the back, may send him back to the pits. And it does, where he should be using that quick repair. He should be back out on track soon enough, as Burkhardt getting a little loose on the exit of turn number 6, heading up the hill.
Yeah, him and Forenz Arabian were really, really aggressive in turn 1 right there. They drove it in way deeper than everybody else that I saw in the top 5. So it's worked out for Forenz so far, but I think Morgan's going to have his work cut out for him. I think it's going to be interesting to see, where Giancarlo was much faster in qualifying, if that translates to the race.
Yeah, and we'll see there, at least on this first lap, Schooler's not able to get away in that third sector as they come through the final corner through turn 11, over that little bit of AstroTurf and back onto the front straight. With 1 lap in the books, your pole sitter, Giancarlo Schooler, is your leader. Morgan Burkhardt second, then Beans Forster, and a little bit of a gap now back to Florence Arabian, and almost 4 car lengths then back to Miles Crabb, who, again, Crabb, your Season 9 Spec Racer Ford champion. Look at this, Burkhardt diving down to the inside on Schooler, but that's going to push him out to the outside as the track comes back across and goes right at turn 3.
Yeah, it looked like Schooler kind of got out a little bit, and maybe it was pushing or something when he got back on the throttle. I'm not sure, but Morgan had a big run on him. But unfortunately, the way this track goes, if sometimes you're on the inside, then on the next corner you're on the outside. So it's tough to really make those passes unless you have them set up completely.
And now Burkhardt once again, it looks like trying to come underneath Schooler. Schooler having a little trouble getting the nose of his car down to the apex. There, that maybe the scrubbing at the beginning, maybe not getting the heat that he needs into the front of the car. Although it looks like the rear end, maybe with his setup, is not rotating as well as Burkhardt's. Burkhardt's just seems to rotate at will as they come into the corkscrew. Oh, and that's going to likely be a slowdown penalty for Schooler. We'll see if he gets that or not. But Burkhardt had a great entry into the corner. And yeah, I think Schooler there, as he's going 3 wide now, I think he's got that slowdown penalty that he's got to wear off. Oh, and there's contact. Schooler and Miles Crabb in the red number 131, and I believe Megan Overstreet involved as well, as Schooler was trying to let the field go by. Some of the drivers in the midfield there, Jack, maybe not as in tune with what was going on.
Yeah, it looks like it started coming out of the corner that he got the slowdown in, and then Morgan bumped him, and he was just trying to get out of the way, and this track's really narrow. It's tough. And with these slowdown penalties, sometimes they're really hard to serve. I mean, you'll think you served it, and then it'll tack on another couple tenths of a second or something. So you had to slow down more, and it looked like it checked up a lot of the field right then, and an incident happened. So that's unfortunate for Miles, and I hate to see that.
Yeah, and I think Megan was the other one involved, and certainly because I mean here at Laguna, getting that off-track penalty or getting that slowdown penalty coming out of the corkscrew kind of common, because you find a lot of people. Oh, and going around that is Andrew Wozencroft, a Northern California driver, Spec Miata driver in real life, and he gets it wrong. He's now going to drop down through the field as he's trying to get that car back underway. But the challenge at Laguna Seca when you get that off-track penalty is you're going downhill. and yeah, you've got to try and get over drivers right, and if you move over all the way drivers right coming down Rainy Curve, then you got to fight. Even if you're off throttle, you got to fight to kind of keep the car on track, and you don't want to lose all that much ground to your competitors either. So always difficult. But Burkhardt is now your leader. Beans Forster moves up into second. Florence Arabian now is escalated to third, and our pole sitter, Giancarlo Schooler, who just a lap ago had that slowdown penalty, he now finds himself at fourth.
Yeah, but he's only a second back, and I think he's going to have plenty of time with these guys up here battling as hard as they do. Beans and Morgan seems like they're going at it every single week that I watch, so he'll be okay. The top four is really broken away from the rest of the field, though. These guys are battling really hard for fifth back here, and I don't think they know who wants it.
Yeah, well, and I think a lot of that has to do with that incident from 2 laps ago involving Schooler and Miles Crabb. All right, let's take a look here. I think we've got queued up as these racers came down out of the Rainy Curve into turn number 10, into the right-hander. Let's take a look here as we watch Miles Crabb. Oh, and something completely different. And my apologies to Giancarlo Schooler. It looks like Crabb got a tiny little tap in the rear from Florence Arabian, and that's what sent him around. And Megan Overstreet, some collateral damage there, although it looks like she's doing pretty good on the recovery there. And just as I say that, she loses 4 positions.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think she just has an incident as we were talking about. Oh, that is heavy
that's an
damage.
Incident.
Yeah, I bet that she clipped the sand with the right rear and it just lost it, which That's really easy to do. So I'm sure the
Yeah.
best of the best have done that one.
Yeah, that is coming through turn 6. If you miss that groove going to the apex and the little divot at the apex, yeah, you can go for the wild ride. If that wall wasn't there, you'd be going off the side of a mountain face. But best that it's there. But Megan's car a little bit worse for wear. She's going to try and whip that car back around. She's in the pit lane now. She should get that fast repair and be able to move back out on track, but not without losing a lot of positions. It is again a 4-car fight with Burkhardt, Forster, Arabian, and Schooler. Trenton Kramer now leads that second pack with Michael Snow, Charles Vaccaro, and Jim Brewster behind.
Yeah, these guys are up here battling so hard. Oh man, and it's interesting to see that Giancarlo hasn't really. He's made up the ground now, so I guess we'll see if he's able to start making the passes and get back up there towards the lead. But we talked about the incident that Megan had, and it'll be interesting whenever iRacing gets the rescan, because this area is going to be paved a little bit. So I wonder if we're going to have a lot less incidents right here. As we almost have another one.
Wow, and look at Forster going for Mr. Toad's wild ride all up the hill through the sand. And look at this. He still manages to stay in touch with Arabian and also Giancarlo Schooler, even though he ran about 1,000 feet through the dirt and through the sand and not on the pavement. Wow.
And yeah, it's pretty much all you can do when you run off that corner is just try to hold it as straight as possible and just, modulate the throttle and hope that you can get back on and not wreck it. And that's what he did.
All right, so Jack, coming into this race, the last time our Spec Miatas raced was round 5. That was last week, or not last week, but 2 weeks ago at Circuit of the Americas. And Josh Soto, who is not here with us tonight, took the win, margin of victory, 21/100ths of a second over Beans Forster, who finished in second. Giancarlo Schooler, our pole sitter tonight, finished in third. And then Miles Crabb and Andrew Wozencroft, your top 5. Let's quickly take a look at the point standings coming into tonight's final race of the evening. Beans Forster, he is currently your points leader. And, he's currently sitting third, and he could hold station there. Heck, he could lose about 10 spots, and I think he'd be fine. He currently has a 39-point advantage on the rest of the field. Miles Crabb, who went around there just a couple of laps ago, was currently running second in the championship with a 1-point advantage over Morgan Burkhardt. And Burkhardt now, who's leading the field, stands to move up to second in the point standings if things stay the same. Giancarlo Schooler with 64 points, and Megan Overstreet currently sitting in 5th in the championship, another 5 points back from Schooler there. But it's kind of unfortunate there for Miles Crabb. He had a chance to hold on to second, but we still have almost half of this race, almost 10 minutes to go, and a lot can happen in 10 minutes.
Yeah, and that fight for second's really tight too. So I think he needed a really good race, and unfortunately, it looks like he's DNF'd. Is going to finish 15th tonight. So unless something happens to Morgan or Miles, then I don't know. Or Giancarlo. Sorry, it says Miles on the sheet there.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it says Miles, but to Giancarlo Schooler, that's at this point, Crabb just has to, unfortunately, you don't want to see it happen, but yeah, basically has to hope for some misfortune for some of our other drivers.
Yeah, and it looks like it's pretty spread out at the moment. I don't know if we're going to see the incidents. And Beans running off a little bit. That's a tight spot as well too, because if you hit that wrong, oh man, you're going around as well.
Yeah, so it's interesting. You said we'll see when we get a rescan of Laguna Seca. It'll be interesting to see how long it takes. Just like wait to see if there's a rescan of Road America that just got repaved over the winter. Last week, there was a club race, a regional race at Laguna Seca, and I had heard reports of the pavement actually starting to ripple, and they had some challenges in that first race weekend that perhaps the pavement had not cured enough. But they made some repairs, and there was I think a super bike and going wide and going off. Jeremy Shepard gets into the dirt coming through turn number 5 and cuts and goes all the way across the track, and judging by the behavior, that might have been terminal.
Yeah, it looked like it. That was a really hard hit. He just shot back across the track right there, and I mean, that's how it is, though. I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do to save it. Once it's gone, it's gone. So that's unfortunate that that happened.
Yeah, that's everybody always jokes about the grass being in iRacing being like ice. Well, the sand and the dirt at Laguna Seca, it's just brown grass, I guess. You go off and drop a wheel and the car is going to go on you, and it's really not much unless you have the wheel straightened up. There's not much you can do to save it. I think one of the counterpoints to that is what we saw Beans Forster do coming through and out of the turn at number 6, heading up the Rahal Straight. All right, let's look here as we're watching Michael Snow with Charles Vaccaro directly behind in the 221 machine.
These guys are battling back here for P6. It's about the only battle that we have other than 3rd and 4th, I think. Everybody's pretty spread out, but these two are driving really hard, sliding around. We have a little bit of shade right now. That's going to help grip up the track a little bit more than what they're normal, what they're used to.
Oh, wow, and Snow goes very wide at the apex. Fortunately for him, got the car back out onto the exit curbing, stayed out of the dirt, but you can see here where Vaccaro did make up some ground there on the run up the Rahal Straight and made up a little bit more under braking as they start to make their way down the rainy curve.
Yeah, and as long as Charles keeps that pressure on him, I think Michael may make a mistake. I mean, that's kind of how it is here, right? You don't really make too many passes just by you being faster. It's more of, all right, let me put pressure on this driver in front of me and see if I can have them make a mistake, because it's so easy, especially at a track like this.
And as they're starting the fight, it looks like Jim Brewster starting to make up a little bit of ground himself. Now he is just about a second back from Vaccaro, and maybe sitting just right on the edge of the draft. But as Vaccaro and Snow go through the Andretti hairpin there side by side, that allows Jim Brewster to knock almost a half a second off of that gap that he had up to the 221 machine.
Yeah, I took a big gap out of it, and if these two get racing side by side, he's going to take even bigger chunks out of this gap. As it looks like Charles is going to dive it down in there, and makes the pass. There we go. Pass for P6.
Nice move there. Gets the car down to the apex, and does it smoothly. And and at that point, Snow didn't put up much of a fight. But Snow runs wide, and he's been running wide through some of these corners, maybe having some issues with rotation. He's now going to lose a position to Jim Brewster. So move Brewster up into 7th position now. Move Snow back down into 8th.
Yeah, and Charles passed him at a kind of an interesting spot and set him up really early there. And I don't know if Snow was expecting that, and it kind of threw off his rhythm, I think, for the next few corners. As you talked about, he was running wide anyway, and I think that might have just been over the edge for him, trying to get back up there to Charles.
Yeah, and that corner we talked about at the turn 6, heading that left-hander heading up onto the Rahal Straight really requires, I think, more precise timing than almost any other corner here, because you just don't have the latitude to run wide like you do in some of the others, and that one, because of the little drop down at the apex in particular. If you're even a foot or 2 feet off, it really can unsettle the car. And we see what happened there. He went wide as well, but like Beans Forster, was able to get the car straightened up and recover. And speaking of Beans, he's starting to close things down just a little bit on Giancarlo Schooler. That last time by was almost a half second faster than the 111 car. Florence Arabian locked right in behind Beans Forster. I think the two of them, for the moment, it looks like Arabian is called off the fight, and he's just going to work with the 231 machine to get up to Schooler.
Yeah, and I'm kind of looking at Giancarlo's lap times, and I mean they've really fallen off of what he was running in practice and qualifying. So I'm not sure if that incident that he had, the little incident that he had earlier, maybe kind of threw off his rhythm or something, or if he got a little bit of damage from being tapped in the behind. I'm not sure, but it doesn't look like he has that pace that he had, and he might lose second here if these two work together.
All right, and as Forster and Arabian cross the stripe, running actually, Schooler managed to eke out about a tenth or so. Actually, about well, there you go. There it is on the screen. About 3/10 over Forster that last time by.
Really close up front too. I mean, Morgan ran a 37.29, Giancarlo ran a 37.01, Beans ran a 37.30, and Arabian ran a 37.07. So everybody's really close up front.
Yeah, they're all dialed in, and they're just not out giving room.
Oh, no.
And going around, Beans Forster for the second time tonight has problems at turn 6, and we saw that time the attitude of that car. He was not going to be able to save it, Jack, and he is off into the wall. That's going to move Arabian up into third, but that is going to likely end Beans Forster's night.
Yep, that corner's, oh man, bit another one, and unfortunately Beans got taken out of a podium position there, but for Arabian, he's up to P3. He moves up to the bronze spot, and Trenton Kramer has moved up 7 spots tonight. He's up to 4th, and just staying out of trouble and just letting everybody else make the mistakes. That's the way to do it sometimes, and looks like he might get a top 5 out of it.
Yeah, and so Kramer, he originally had that second pack, a couple cars directly behind him, and at this point now, he's kind of worked his way clear in the 444 car. That he just has to hit his marks for just 2 more minutes or thereabouts, as we've got just a touch under 2 remaining on the clock. Of course, that all depends on when Morgan Burkhardt crosses the stripe for the last time, but he's got a good run ahead of him there for 4th.
Yeah, he's gapped Charlie Vacarlo, and it looks like Charles is actually going to have a little bit of a battle right here with Brewster potentially with about 2 laps to go. It's only about a second gap, so the battle for 5th might heat up as we're looking at the battle back here for 8th, 9th, and 10th. Wozencroft had his incident, but I mean, he's rebounded to a top 10, so that's pretty good.
That's right. So Shepard, who started off, remember, Shepard was down started right around 15th, actually started 16th in the field tonight, now up into 8th position. Wozencroft with a lunge coming through Andretti, and he's now going to get around Mark Sherman to move the 18 car back into 10th position. But nice little scrap going on here with just a few more laps remaining, or probably 1 more lap remaining.
Yeah, Wozencroft wants to get back to where he started, which was 7th. He's going to get pretty close, though, potentially, if he can get Shepard right here. It looks like he's on a mission, though. I think he wants this P8 really, really bad, and the way he's driving it looks really fast, and I wonder if he's going to make the move right here. It's really risky if he does.
This right here, if he makes the move going into turn 6, he pretty much opens up the door for Mark Sherman to drive past both of them. The opportunity would have been to pull up alongside and maybe outbrake Shepard going into the corkscrew, but Wozencroft just didn't get a good run out of turn 6. And when they get to the corkscrew, he's almost 4 car lengths back as they now head down the hill. So let's check in and see where Morgan Burkhardt is here real quick, if we can, Lee, as we just hit the 20-minute mark. And so Burkhardt now working his last lap. So he crossed the start-finish line before the checkered flag, before the clock hit 20 and turned into a pumpkin. And he's still got a bit of an advantage over Giancarlo Schooler.
It looks like too little too late for Giancarlo. That last lap, he was about 3/10 faster. I think he finally found the speed and pace that he had earlier, but it was just a little bit too late as Morgan was able to stretch it out earlier when he was battling with the others. So Andrew's back here still trying to get P8 here, and he's driving it really hard and deep, especially out of Andretti there.
Yeah, and you saw there is he drove very deep, and there are multiple ways to do Andretti, whether you double apex it, whether you make it one long sweeping arc, and Wozencroft ended up very far offline going through Andretti and losing ground, and quite a bit of ground to Jeremy Shepard, but he's managed to catch right back up again as they came through turns 3 and 4. As Burkhardt comes across the stripe, Morgan Burkhardt will take the win. Final race of the season for the Spec Miatas in the Esports Racing League. Giancarlo Schooler will finish in second. Last up on the podium, Forens Arabian, driver the number 42 machine. He will come in third with Trenton Kramer. He should be the next to cross the line, but let's continue to watch this battle here. This is the battle for 8th position with Jeremy Shepard, Andrew Wozencroft in the yellow and red number 80 machine, and then Mark Sherman just a little bit further behind, and only 2 more corners as Kramer did come in 4th, Vaccaro 5th, Jim Brewster in 6th, and here we go. Who's going to come in 7th? Is it going to be Jeremy Shepard or Andrew Wozencroft? Shepard went to defend coming out of 11, and he is going to cross the line. He will finish in 8th position. Andrew Wozencroft will finish in 9th. Mark Sherman will finish in 10th, and I believe Wayne Buttermore should be your last runner here on the lead lap. Wayne Buttermore will finish 11th with Joaquin Effinger finishing in 12th, and unfortunately the remainder of our drivers not taking the checkered flag. All right, so Jack, we've got our top 2 drivers here in tonight's first race. They're in the green room waiting for us. Why don't we bring in Giancarlo Schooler, driver of the number 111 Mazda Miata, finishing second tonight at Laguna Seca.
Giancarlo, congratulations on the podium. You were really fast in practice and qualifying. Walk us through what happened there when you had that slowdown.
Yeah, so when I had that slowdown, I originally, it was about 1.5 seconds, I think it was, when it first appeared on my screen. So I thought I could just take it through Rainy Curve and it'd be okay by the end of the corner going into turn 11. But instead, it was much more extended, and I lost a lot of time to do that. And once me and Beans lost the draft from Morgan, I knew that race was kind of over. So it was just trying to get P2 at that point behind my teammate.
Right, and it seemed like it was kind of the worst possible place to get the slowdown, right? Because you had a bunch of cars right behind you at the beginning of the race, and the track's really narrow, and the groove's really small, so there's really nowhere to go, right?
Stay out of the way as much as possible. I think it worked. I don't think I ruined anyone's race, hopefully, fingers crossed. But like you said, the track's narrow through there. It's a high-speed corner. It's very committed. There's one line to it. So, it was a terrible place to take a slowdown because there's nowhere you can really go offline. But got through it cleanly and, finished P2, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Alrighty, and is there anybody that you'd like to thank this week for the second place finish?
Thank my friends and family for allowing me to do this, and shout out to the guys over at Parallel Racing Group and Elite Performance Industries as well.
Awesome, and we'll see you next week at the runoffs, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Giancarlo Schooler finishing second tonight in Spec Miata. And so let's bring in now our winner, driver the number 40 Spec Miata, Morgan Burkhardt.
Morgan, we saw a lot of people DNF because of the track conditions were just treacherous today, with everyone slipping and sliding off the track and hitting the wall. Walk us through your race and if you kind of felt the same way out there.
For sure, I kind of felt like I was driving on ice for a little bit. I made a change to the setup before we went out for the race. Kind of played with shocks a little bit, and it was, really aggressive, violent. I felt like I was in a war zone for the first half of the race, but it kind of tightened up, and then really gripped up towards the end. And I was able to just okay, I can relax now. I don't have to grit my teeth going through every corner, wondering if I'm going to make it out the other side alive or not. But it was definitely super slick. The clouds kind of came out in the middle. The track temperature dropped a little bit, and then it was like, okay. And then it gave you a lot of false hope, and then the clouds went away, and it was horrible again. So it was definitely interesting.
You saw Giancarlo get that slowdown right there, and you hit him a little bit. Were you a little bit worried about the damage that you might have gotten?
I don't think I hit him. I know we came pretty close. I don't remember touching him, but I was wondering if he got a slowdown in the corkscrew, and then he came back in front and slotted in. And then I heard over the radio he was like, "Oh," and I was like, and I didn't see brake lights, but he started to not move, so I checked up pretty hard to avoid him, and then we all made it through without collecting each other. But yeah, I wasn't really worried about damage at all.
Actually, that had to be nerve-wracking though, right? Worst possible place of the track to get that, and then you got the guy right in front of you trying to manage to slow down and try to keep the lead at the same time.
Yeah, pretty much. You're trying so hard not to hit him, but you're also trying not to get passed by anybody behind you, so it's a big juggle.
right? Is there anybody that you would like to thank this week?
I'd definitely like to thank the Parallel Racing Group, PRG, our brand new team with myself, Giancarlo Schooler, Nathan Nicholson being the owners of it. It's really starting to take off the ground. We're attracting a lot of drivers, a lot of ambassadors from the real world, like Thomas Annunziata in the Trans Am Series, Alex Bertagnoli, Jeremy Fairbairn. So we're picking up a lot of speed, and I'm super excited about what it's going to bring in the coming months, coming weeks. But other than that, I'd like to thank you guys for putting us on a good stream, making us all look good.
Alrighty, sounds good, and we'll see you later tonight and in the runoffs next week as well.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Young entrepreneur, Morgan Burkhardt, your winner tonight in Spec Miata. All right, so Jack, why don't we take a quick little break, thanks to our partners and sponsors, and when we come back, we're going to bring you one more race for season number 9. It's going to be our touring cars, the Jettas. It's going to be the Toyota GR86s here from Laguna Seca. We'll be right back on Apex Racing TV.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
And welcome back to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for the Esports Racing League, presented by Grassroots Motorsports Magazine, Spec Racer Sports, Common Gear, and Grass Paddock Motorsports here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Greg Ginsberg along with Jack Ritchie, and got one more race here in the regular season. Jack, and drivers are out for their qualifying session right now, but why don't we give the folks a peek ahead to next week. We're currently here in Northern California. We're going to be heading south just 80 miles north of Los Angeles to Rosamond, California, and Willow Springs Raceway. Going to be having the Ray Esports runoffs. That is a 25-minute race for each one of our classes, and we're going to be at the newly scanned on iRacing Big Willow track, about 2.5 miles and 10 turns. The oldest permanent race course in North America, having been built back in 1953. It's a fun little club track, and it's one that I'm sure most of our racers have not put in a lot of time at. So it should be a great time next Tuesday night, 8 p.m. We'll have to see what time. I think probably 8 p.m. Eastern time. But we'll check on that and get that to you soon enough. All right, so as we've got drivers out on track right now, again, these are two touring car classes, Touring 3 and Touring 4, as they're called, the Touring 3 class. Our Toyota GR86 Cup cars. Currently, fastest driver on track is Miles Crabb with a provisional pole time of 136.75. And then we've got our Touring 4 field. Those are the Volkswagen Jetta TDI Cup cars. Fastest driver on course currently, well, and he's not on course, he's on the pit lane, Morgan Burkhardt with a 138.39. And you can see there we've got them split on the screen. Burkhardt's got about 1.3 seconds on the rest of the Jetta field. Miles Crabb has a much smaller margin right now, only 11 hundredths of a second separate him from Beans Forster in the Toyotas.
Yeah, it looks like in the Jettas we have a really big gap there from first to second, and in the Toyota 86s it's really close. I mean, we got three guys within 0.3 of a second, and oh man, that might be a really good shootout for the pole there. But I'm not really sure if anybody's gonna be able to challenge Morgan for the Jetta pole. But we see Megan Overstreet here. She's usually really fast in these cars. We'll see what she lays down right here.
Yeah, as she's been trying to come to grips with these tin top cars, again, having had most of her experience in the Spec Racer Fords and some of the Formula cars, but she has definitely been getting on at the last couple of events. As we're watching Beans Forster looking for a little redemption, he's in that blue and yellow Toyota, the second car in line here, coming into the corkscrew, and Forster currently. Well, I was going to say currently your second fastest driver, but there you go. Giancarlo Schooler throws down a 136.84, and that is 96 thousandths of a second off of Miles Crabb's provisional pole time. So things definitely tightening up there now in the Toyotas. And real quick here, let's take a look at the last race that our touring cars had. That was 3 weeks ago at Road America at the National Park of Speed, where Beans Forster took the win over Miles Crabb the last time they went head-to-head in these Toyotas. Margin of victory for Beans was 7.5 seconds. Ethan O-Ring was our third-place finisher, then Nagase Yoshikawa and Corey Heffron making up the rest of the top five. And if we take a look at the point standings currently coming into the final race of the season for our Touring 3 class, for our Toyotas, Beans Forster right now tied with Miles Crabb, 95 points apiece. It could go to either one of them here tonight, depending on how things finish up. Caleb Pocock, your third place runner in the championship right now, 11 points behind, and looking to see if Caleb is on the clock here. Caleb indeed is in the field, and he is currently, I think, sixth fastest Toyota in qualifying. Let's move over to the Jettas, where Michael Snow took the win over Jim Brewster, about a tenth separating them at the finish line. Megan Overstreet finished third, and with Wan Chi Lin and Trenton Kramer, your top five. And we can see now as Overstreet has now moved up to second provisionally in the Jettas here in qualifying, moving Wan Chi Lin back to third. Megan Overstreet, currently your points leader in the championship, with Michael Snow currently running second, only a single point back from Megan Overstreet. Morgan Burkhardt third in the championship right now. He's 12 points back from there. And then Derek Marcos and Trenton Kramer, your top five. And Marcos with 58 points. Kramer with 57 points. Only a single point separating those drivers as well. There's a bit of a gap from Burkhardt back to Marcos there. But, this is another one of those races, Jack, here, not only in the Toyotas, but certainly in the Jettas as well, that tonight could certainly determine your regular season champion.
Yeah, and the pressure's on Megan, right? With 2 races to go, this one and then the runoffs next week, with a 1-point lead. I mean, that's got to be stressful. And then Morgan's right there, too, and he's always fast. So, man, she moved up to second from third earlier, like we talked about her qualifying. So I think she just needs a really nice, clean run tonight, try to finish as high as she can, maybe challenge for the win if she can get a chance to, but I think she just needs to keep it clean, and maybe she'll have a shot next week at keeping that championship.
Oh, there you go. Well, the point standings here, Jack. This is for the regular season, so tonight is the last race. The
Oh, okay.
runoffs, almost an event in its own right. And the point standings, well, they get wiped out for that runoffs event. So we'll see how things play out. But Michael Snow right now, currently your 6th fastest driver in the Jettas. He's going to have a couple rows to make up to get up there to Overstreet and challenge for the win. As we've still got just about 2 minutes, a little bit over 2 minutes remaining here in qualifying from Laguna Seca.
Well, forget what I said then, because now there's even more pressure. Right? A 1-point lead with one race. I mean, with 2 races, it's like, okay, maybe you can have a small mistake, but yeah, no, it's on.
That's exactly. So the driver of the purple 044, and there she is coming up the hill into turn number 6. She's looking now to improve. Oh, and she's not going to do it with dropping a wheel there. I was going to say she's looking to improve upon her fastest lap so far, a 139.57. But just with that little bobble there, probably not going to be able to do that again. As you can see there on our timing tower, just about 1.2 seconds off of Burkhardt's provisional pole time. And I'm sure that for Megan, as well as most of our Jetta drivers here, driving these front wheel drive machines, definitely a challenge. We talked about how with the Mazdas you could use your right foot to change the attitude of the car and get them to rotate. And the Jettas, you can't do that very easily. They are prone to push, to understeer quite a bit. But what you can do is you can use the curbing here at Laguna Seca to help rotate that car. And if not the curbing, most of the curbing is actually very flat. But a lot of these corners, they do have those sausage curbs at the apex. If you hit them right, if you hit and you're like inch perfect and you hit just the edge, it can push the rear end of the car out and help rotate it a little bit. If you put the whole tire over the top of one of those sausage curbs, these Jettas, which are definitely underdamped, they will start bouncing around like a pogo stick.
Yeah, and for these Toyotas, they can't touch the curbs really at all.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have to see. We had our little bet about how many cars would go around at turn 11 and in the MX-5 race and the Miata race, and during the race itself, it didn't really happen all that much. Maybe here, if we're betting men, maybe we think about how many cars end up on their roofs this race.
Oh man.
Or maybe not. All right, here as we've just hit that 15-minute mark. Checkered flag is in the air. Last flying laps will count. We're on board right now with Joaquin Effinger, currently sitting 8th in the Jettas out of 8 cars, as we've got 18 drivers that have put times in here across the 2 different classes. And let's see if Joaquin, as he's coming down through the Rainy curve, that was a nice move through Rainy. Got some good rotation on that VW. Looks very smooth there as he comes down under braking into the final corner. This is one of those corners where it's kind of difficult to get the car to rotate. You saw there where he got some of that sausage curb and did lift the rear end of the car up a little bit. And Joaquin Effinger takes a little bit of wall with him. Let's see if he improves on his 143.65. That time around, no, he does not improve. A 145.15, the time that he puts in. Let's take a look at Miles Crabb. He's already a provisional pole sitter in the Toyotas. And looks like he got an off track coming out of the corkscrew. And you can see there he's pitting in, calling off that last flying lap. And I believe, we'll see here. We're watching Andrew Wozencroft. I believe Wozencroft had already taken the checkered flag, and I think Overstreet as well. They're the last 2 cars that are out on track. But if the service is going to let you get a little bit of extra track time in, take advantage of it.
Yeah, and shout out to Miles too for that pole lap. I mean, usually he's starting maybe 3rd or 4th in a race like this, and he put down a fire lap. So good for him. He's going to have the advantage right here over Giancarlo and Beans, who are really tough competition. So, man, that's going to be a fun one for him, I think.
Oof. And Megan Overstreet, hoping she doesn't have to come down the pit lane during her race, had a little trouble. This track, has a very strange kink once you come, once you head into the pits. A very strange kink that you've got to get on the brakes as well, and a lot of people end up impacting that wall, drivers, right before they actually get to the pit stalls, and Overstreet did there as well. And then, of course, a very strange exit as you actually loop through that hairpin, the Andretti hairpin. But we've got our drivers heading out on track now and getting ready for our second race of the evening. I'm going to go down and, Jack, tell you what, I'll take the Toyotas if you want to take the Jettas here for our starting grid. Your pole sitter, as Jack mentioned, in the number 131 Toyota GR86, it's Miles Crabb with Giancarlo Schooler starting right next to him. Then on row number 2, it's Beans Forster with Trenton Kramer. They'll start 3rd and 4th. Row number 3, Andrew Wozencroft in the 80 machine. Brian McRae in the 298. Caleb Pocock will start 7th tonight with Charles Vaccaro 8th. Then Mark Sherman and Wayne Buttermore round out your 10-car Toyota field.
Ready for the Jettas, we have Morgan Burkhardt on the pole with Megan Overstreet starting 2nd. Like we talked about earlier, she has that 1-point lead over Michael Snow, so the pressure's on here to try to win that championship. Starting 3rd, we have Juan Chi Lin, and 4th, we have Skip Brock Jr. Starting 5th, Jacob Schilling. Starting 6th, Michael Snow. Starting 7th, Jim Brewster, and starting 8th, Joaquin Effinger.
All right, well, there you go. As the pace car now is underway, and we start our pace lap here at Laguna Seca, 2.24 miles, 11 turns. Let's talk about our 2 sponsors for tonight's race. Sponsoring the Touring 3 cars, the Toyota GR86s. It's the Common Gear, who is your single source for securely digitizing and storing automotive maintenance records. From photos of maintenance and restoration work to scans of receipts, users can easily catalog every piece of a car's story. Digitize or scan and back up securely in one location while documenting your diagnostic and repair processes, which is as important as the work itself. With the Common Gear, you can keep track of the steps you take, the parts you use, and the experts that all help you with all aspects of your car's history. Don't risk losing value in your investment due to lost or incomplete service and repair records. For more information, visit Common Gear at www.thecommongear.com or on Instagram at _Common Gear. And sponsoring our Jettas tonight for the final time this regular season. We'll talk a little bit more about them as the race goes on. Is Grass Paddock Motorsports, which provides Mini Cooper race car rentals, trackside support, and coaching at tracks all over the eastern half of the United States. GPM provides podium-capable rentals for B-Spec, the fastest-growing class of racing in the Sports Car Club of America for 3 years running, and it's the 4th largest class currently overall. Grass Paddock has a unique approach where their race cars are located near the track you want to race instead of being in a centralized location, and that way you get to avoid large towing fees. Come join us at Grass Paddock Motorsports, where Grass Paddock is not about our location, but about our attitude. For more information, visit www.grasspaddock.com. Wow, going for a ride on the pace lap there. Charles Vaccaro running wide, coming through the rainy curve.
He was just testing it out to see if he did it during the race, how would he react. So, I like the thinking right there.
That's right. See how much grip he's got there out in the dirt as the pace car's on the pit lane. Miles Crabb, your pole sitter in the GR86s in the Touring 3 class. He's got a heck of an advantage over the outside lane, almost a full car length over Giancarlo Schooler there, and Andrew Wozencroft and Trenton Kramer sitting right back behind Schooler, having to deal with that as they come down now into the Andretti hairpin for the very first time. To the inside, it's Crabb. To the outside, Giancarlo Schooler runs wide, and that allows Beans Forster to take over second position as the Jettas now on their start. They're coming down into the Andretti hairpin, and your leader in the Jettas, Morgan Burkhardt, in the number 40 machine, with Megan Overstreet running in second. She's held off Juan Chi Lin for the first couple of turns there with Skip Brock Jr. in the yellow 68. He is running in fourth with Jacob Schilling just behind. And here we're starting to see, much like in the MX-5s, a 4-car breakaway at the front of the field here in the Toyotas, Jack.
Yeah, and it was a really rough start for Giancarlo there. It didn't look like he was up on the grid there at the start, so he started behind, and then he dove it down into turn 1 and 2.
At a field as well.
Yeah, it looks like the driver to watch right here is Michael Snow. I mean, so far he hasn't made up any spots, but he has about 18 minutes to see if he can do anything here. I think all he has to do is pass Megan, right? I'm not really sure how the points work.
That's exactly what it would be. There is a single point separating them. And Michael Snow needs to finish ahead of Megan Overstreet tonight in the Touring 4 class in the Jettas. Morgan Burkhardt, who is sitting third in the championship right now with 76 points. I don't believe, even with a win, he would make up enough points to overtake Overstreet or Crab, unless they crashed out early. And we're watching Andrew Wozencroft now on Mark Sherman. Didn't we see this fight just a couple minutes ago in the MX-5s as Wozencroft gets the better of the number 18 machine? So move Wozencroft back up in the 7th position. He lost a couple positions on the start as he started off in 5th position, but we'll continue to watch here as what was a 4-car breakaway at the front of the Toyotas now, Jack. It's kind of like a 2.5-car breakaway as Crab and Forster starting to move away from Giancarlo Schooler just a little bit. That just doesn't seem to, at least early on, doesn't have the raw pace, and it may be a question of needing those tires to come up to temperature.
Yeah, the front two are the only ones in the 43s right now, so we'll see right here at the line if Giancarlo is able to get down in the 43s as well, because he gained a really big chunk in that last segment, so maybe so. Oh, yeah. Well, Giancarlo's actually in the 36s. He was the fastest one around that time by about 3/10. Oh, it's these two battling side by side. That's really going to help him catch a lot. Look at that. Out of Andretti catching all of that time. Man.
Yeah, so
3-car battle now.
Yeah, he's right up there now as Forster's your new leader in the Toyotas. As we take a look at the battle now for second in the Touring 4 class in the Jettas, Megan Overstreet. They're in the purple 44. She's got Wan Chi Lin directly behind, and both of these drivers they're getting bottled up just a little bit behind Mark Sherman, driver running 9th overall in that Toyota, and. So the Jettas, as we've seen at most courses this year, Jack, they have, I think, more straight line speed than the Toyotas. Obviously, the Toyotas have quite a bit more cornering speed. They've got a lot more grip, and the fact that they can get the car to rotate a little bit more than the Toyotas helps them get off the corners a little bit faster as well. But as we come up the hill here, this is probably where you're going to see these two Toyotas start to come right up onto the back of the 18.
Yeah, and I think if I'm Megan here, there's a pretty decent gap to the 4th and 5th. I almost think I would let Wan Chi try to deal with the slower Toyotas, and if there's an incident, maybe try to avoid it that way, because it's tough dealing with lap traffic. And I mean, as we look at Miles Crab falling back to 3rd here, I wonder what happened, because he fell off quite a bit that last lap.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if maybe he had a slowdown coming down the hill, as he didn't really put up much of a fight against Schooler coming out of the final corner. And well, now we can see as we jump back to the Jettas, as Mark Sherman has, whether intentional or not, let Megan Overstreet, Wan Chi Lin, as well as Skip Brock Jr. through, and as they continue on their race. And now coming up directly behind, we've got Jacob Schilling and Michael Snow. Snow in the green 077 machine. Schilling gets by Sherman's Toyota. Snow still caught behind, but looks like good race in there from from Sherman, who let both of the Toyotas let both of the Jettas by to continue on their race.
Yeah, it looks like he's pretty off the pace, so, I mean, that was a good move on him, like you said, to let these guys go and let them race their own race, and he can try to salvage what he can out of his race as well.
All right, Charles Vaccaro there in the 221 machine. He pulls over, maybe realizes that Andrew Wozencroft has a little bit more pace, and Vaccaro maybe going to slot in behind and try to learn some stuff. Vaccaro, a real-life racer out of the Northeast, Spec Racer Ford racer. And wow, so I'm sure he got at least he got an incident point there, but I think Wozencroft was right on the edge of getting a slowdown penalty coming out of the corkscrew.
I think he did get one because he almost looked like he was letting Charlie go right there, and Charlie just didn't take it. As Wozencroft locks up right here, and yeah, I think he slowed. I think he had a slowdown. He just was able to serve it, and Charles just didn't push the subject. At least that's what it looked like to me, because it looked like he was going pretty slow on that last straightaway right before the last corner.
All right, well, they're coming down now into the Andretti hairpin again. This is the battle for 5th in the Toyotas in the Touring 3 class. And Morgan Burkhardt, who is our Touring 4 leader, in the blue Jetta, starting to pick up some ground on these two Toyotas as he's starting to work his way through the field.
Yeah, I wonder how many of the Toyotas he's going to be able to lap here, or at least pass for, I guess, overall position, because he's flying right now.
Yeah, and as we're looking at the Jettas here, Jack, they've started to make their way through the Toyotas as Burkhardt maybe using the dirt there to get some rotation on the Jetta. It actually worked quite well for him. Got the rear end to come around here, but so far, and going wide. There is Jacob Schilling in the 85 machine. He's going to give up a position to Michael Snow. I was just going to say that I didn't think that we'd actually had any changes of position yet in the Jetta field, but that may have been the first, where Schilling ran wide and Michael Snow moves up a position, moves up into 5th position. As we got a great fight going on now. This is the battle for the lead in the Touring 3 field with our Toyotas. It's Giancarlo Schooler who's gotten around Beans Forster now. He's been the faster of the 3 at the front of the field for the last 2 laps or so. And Schooler, as you mentioned, Jack, didn't have the best start, but he's now made it up into the lead.
Yeah, it seemed like he's really able to get his pace going right here, as he was a lot faster than the other two, the last lap. As it looks like we have a change for position right here. Wan Chi Lin able to pass Megan. So Megan and Michael Snow are only 2 spots apart. I mean, it's a pretty big gap on track. It's about 5 seconds, which is quite a bit. But, I mean, it still has to be a little nerve-wracking, right? I mean, you see Michael creeping up the leaderboard just a little bit, and Megan's falling down.
Yeah, and Snow he's got a long way to go to get into the draft to Skip Rock Jr. there. And, I mean, on pace alone, if we take a look, Overstreet, well, the last time by, she was marginally faster than Michael Snow. A 139.97 her time, a 140.02. So we're talking about 0.05 of a second. 0.05 of a second a lap isn't going to get Michael Snow up to the back of Overstreet. But we'll continue to watch here. But you notice that Overstreet didn't really fight off Wan Chi Lin all that much either.
No, there was really no point. She has a really good gap to skip, and I mean, Wan Chi seemed like he was putting a lot of pressure on her and wanted that second position really bad, so it's like, let him go. That's not your race tonight. If you could get second, that's great, but why risk anything happening? Why, push the car too much when that's not your race? So, yeah, good move on her.
Yeah, so, again, the key for her is to keep the 044 machine ahead of the green 077, and so far, as we are now halfway through this 20-minute race, it's mission accomplished.
Yep, she's doing exactly what she needs to do so far. Let's just keep her nose clean, stay out of trouble, and, ride it out. As it looks like back in the GR86s, these two are still battling really hard. Miles catches up and he closes the gap to about, 8 or 9 tenths, and then they just pull it right back out on him to about 1.5 seconds. So that's got to be a little frustrating, right? You think you're going to gain, and then you lose all of it in the same lap.
Yeah, and I think and as I've been watching Miles run, I think a lot of it he's been trying to make up a lot of ground under braking, which will certainly it's a short-term gain But as you mentioned, in the long term, it doesn't really help you because although he's carrying more speed, or he's carrying more speed to the apex, it means his exit speeds at most of these corners is not as high as the drivers ahead of him. So it's it's almost like an accordion that he closes things in pre-apex, loses that gap again post-apex. As we'll see here though that if Forster and Schooler, now that we're under halfway, that if they start jockeying for position here in the lead, that may bring Crab back into the battle.
Yeah, I think that's what he's going to need, is something like that for these two to go side by side for a bit, because he's right outside of the draft, too. That's got to be another frustrating part. He's a little over that second threshold that you need to get sucked up to these guys, and he's just right there on it. So unless he can somehow gain like 2 or 3 tenths and get in that draft, it's going to be really difficult for him to catch up.
Yeah, and and as we were saying, much like with the Jettas, where Megan Overstreet needs to finish ahead of Snow in order to take the regular season championship, Miles Crab, currently running third, has to find a way ahead of that blue and yellow number 231 machine up ahead of him in order to come home with the season championship. Now, of course, Crab already has one season championship to his name, and having taken the Spec Racer Ford regular season championship, but I'm sure he wouldn't be unhappy to take 2.
It looks like Snow had an incident too. I'm not really sure what happened, but all of a sudden he's fallen back to 6 and the gap has increased substantially. So I'm not sure if maybe he ran off the track or what.
All right, well, he is back underway, and let's see if we can track down what happened here as they start to make the run down the hill towards the Andretti hairpin. And Snow was definitely starting to make up ground on Skip Brock Jr., but he just went deep into the Andretti hairpin and got into the not the grass, but into the dirt on the outside, and loses a position to Jacob Schilling that he had passed earlier on, and as you mentioned, has just dropped back a ton.
Yeah, now he's back to battling Brewster for P6. So I would say, I mean, it's not over till it's over, but unless there's an incident, it looks like Megan's going to have this thing wrapped up. So all she has to do is keep it on the track for about 6 more minutes, 7 more minutes, and she'll be your champion.
All right, and there you go. Jim Brewster coming down the inside of Snow, now into Andretti. He's got position, and he's trying to keep it real tighty with that double apex around, and he manages to hold off the 077. But Snow taking a look to the outside, going into turn 3, maybe turning it a little later, trying to straighten things up, and it's going to be a challenge here. And Snow may have to wait until he gets up to the corkscrew here, because Brewster, he's not running defensively, but he's carrying good speed out of the corners.
Yeah, and it's got to be so frustrating for Michael, too. Like, he's making his way up the grid, he's gaining on Skip Rock, and all of a sudden you make that little bitty mistake, and you kind of just throw away a bunch of positions in time, and that's something you can't really get back in these 20-minute races. If it was a 2-hour race with pit stops and strategy, maybe he'd still have a shot. But, I mean, 20-minute sprints, man, those are not the races you want to make a mistake in at all.
No, and we're now at just about 5 minutes remaining on the clock in this 20-minute race, and when you're only running, when you're running lap times in the 140s, you only have 3 laps in that 5 minutes. It's not a lot of time to make things up. As we continue to watch this little battle, this is the battle for second in the Touring 4 class in the Jetta TDI Cup cars, with Wan Chi Lin in the number 30 machine, continuing to hold off Megan Overstreet. And Overstreet hasn't lost a lot of ground to Lynn there. They're running very comparable lap times. I think only a 10th separated them the last time around. But again, now with Snow having that off at the hairpin a lap go, a little bit of the pressure's off of Megan Overstreet.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that Wan Chi didn't really pull away. I mean, he was putting a ton of pressure and looked a lot faster than Megan. And then all of a sudden, she kind of lets him go, and, she's able to stay with him. So, I mean, good for her. That's literally what she wanted, right, in the race. Just want to stay behind somebody, let them deal with the traffic, and let them deal with everybody, and then you kind of just follow on through, and you don't have to deal with any of that stuff.
Exactly. And look, I think there's a lot to be said for Megan coming out of this with a clean race as well. She's been kind of beat and banged on the last couple of events. Here we saw it in the MX5s, and just ends up being collateral damage. I think she's a very clean racer and does very well, but she ends up as collateral damage in a lot of instances here. Oh, look at this, Trenton Kramer pulling down the pit lane from 4th position. And not sure what the reason is here. It doesn't look like he's hit up against any of our incident point limits. Maybe he didn't fuel the car up. Maybe he's got some equipment issues. But that now is going to move Andrew Wozencroft into 4th position. And believe it or not, or thinking about this, Morgan Burkhardt, who is our Touring 4 leader, our Jetta leader, he now is 5th place overall.
Yeah, he's going to have a shot at 4th place overall, too. I mean, I think that's the farthest that I've seen the Jettas finish on, in the field this year. So what a performance from him, as these two are battling really hard in the corkscrew. Man, this is not the place to go side by side.
Wow, and look at the big wiggle under braking from Giancarlo Schooler, as that car was just on the limits of adhesion. And when these Toyotas came to the iRacing sim, one of the most difficult parts of driving them was just how inconsistent the braking was. And you never really had a good feel for the brake pedal, and they locked up very easily, even though they had anti-lock braking. It's far easier now, and it looks like Schooler in particular feels really comfortable just driving that car deep into corners and letting the ABS sort things out.
Yeah, and look who's right there in 3rd. He's in the draft, and he's ready to pounce, and that's Miles Crabb. He's back here in P3, and he's there. I mean, he's in the draft, so if he can hold on to this, and if these two kept getting crazy in the corkscrew and all that, he's going to have a shot.
Well, here we go, because we've got under 2 minutes remaining here, and looks as though, based on where these drivers are, they are going to get one more lap after this. They're going to get up to the start-finish line before the clock hits 20. But this is the best place for Miles Crabb to be, I think, right now, as Beans Forster continues to try and find a way around Giancarlo Schooler. If Schooler can hold Forster off, that is going to just open up a lot of possibilities for Miles Crabb. But as it stands right now, if it finishes the way it is currently, Beans Forster would be your regular season champion, with Miles Crabb finishing in 2nd. So we'll have to see how this plays out. Again, Crabb looking to pick up. He's got coming into the evening, he was tied with Beans Forster. So whoever is in the lead here at the end of the race is going to be your regular season champion, as Giancarlo Schooler leads the two out of turn 10 and into the final corner.
Yeah, and I think Beans really wants that win. It seems like it anyway. I don't think he's racing for points right now, and I wonder if that's going to determine on this last lap if he makes a move that maybe he wouldn't make if he was so conscious about the points. So I don't know. It's either the win or the points, I think, for him right here.
And Schooler getting very defensive as the white flag is in the air. Last lap here at Laguna Seca for season number 9 of the Esports Racing League, as we just saw Charles Vaccaro have some issues over by the corkscrew. He gets things dialed back in. Now watching again Jim Brewster as he tries to hold off Jacob Schilling, the red 933, and then Schilling in that 85 machine directly behind. That is the battle for, gosh, I've got to count. I think that is the battle for 5th position in the Jettas, as our leaders in the Toyota GR86s, the Touring 3 class, come up the hill heading into turn number 6. All 3 of those drivers, they get to the apex. Perhaps with Crabb maybe an inch or two off, and you saw how it kind of threw him out on exit, and he doesn't carry as much speed up the Rahal Straight as they start to make their way down the hill from the highest elevation point here at Laguna Seca down towards the lowest. They come through the rainy curve into turn number 10, and Miles Crabb, he's only got one more turn if he's going to hope to take the championship away from Beans Forster. He makes that last moment lunge, but Beans Forster, good rotation as they come onto the front straight. And taking the win here for this, taking the win for the GR86s, the Touring 3 class, it's Giancarlo Schooler. Beans Forster will finish in second and take the season championship. Miles Crabb comes home in third. And Morgan Burkhardt now coming out of the final corners, coming out of turn 10. He's had it kind of easy tonight here. Jack is, he really separated himself from the rest of our Touring 4 field, pretty much from the drop of the green flag, and taking the win here in Touring 4, Morgan Burkhardt.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit before the rest of these guys are even able to cross the line, as here comes Wan Chi and Megan and everybody else.
There you go, Wan Chi Lin. He's going to finish second in Touring 4. Megan Overstreet takes the checkered flag, finishes third tonight in the final race of the season, and that should wrap up the season championship for Megan Overstreet. They're coming in fourth in the Jettas is going to be Skip Brock Jr., just off the podium, finishing fourth in the Toyotas, Andrew Wozencroft, and then we've got Caleb Pocock fifth in the Jettas, Trenton Kramer sixth, Mark Sherman, Charles Vaccaro will round out the 8 cars still running here at the end. In the Touring 4 class, Jim Brewster will finish fifth, and Jacob Schilling, Mike Snow, and Joaquin Effinger comes across the line as all 8 of our racers in Touring 4 finish on the lead lap. All right, so with that final race in the books, Jack, I think we've got some extra people to talk to tonight for our final race, because we've got some folks that came home with championships. Let's do this. I want to bring in first, we're going to bring in Miles Crabb. Of course, we know he took the regular season championship in Spec Racer Fords. He doubles up and takes the championship, at least, you know, in an unofficial standpoint. I'm not one of our officials. I couldn't tell you for sure. You know, who knows? There may be some protest down the line that bumps him out. Far as we know tonight, Miles Crabb is likely your Toyota GR86 Season 9 champion.
Fantastic job tonight, putting it on the pole and getting you a nice podium. Walk me through that race, man.
Him, and then Giancarlo came through, and then that was kind of like the 1.5 second, and I could make it up, and then I'd make a mistake, and they drove a great race, and it was fun racing with them.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say congratulations, man, because usually you're not one of our typical pole sitters, but you laid it down, you put it on the pole, you did exactly everything you needed to do, so I don't think there's really nothing to be deflated about, man. You had a really good season, and it was fun to watch you. So is there anybody that you would like to thank for this season?
Well, as always, thank you, Stevie, and everybody behind the Ray Esports putting all this on. Thank you all for broadcasting. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. I think they're watching. They're probably watching. I won Spec Racer Ford accidentally, and I couldn't win this one outright, but it was good, clean racing in the GR86 race. It's always fun racing this league, and I'll probably be back for the runoffs in next season, I think.
Alrighty, well, thank you, man, and we enjoyed watching you this season, and we look forward to having you back.
Yeah, I have one request. Can we have a class that has horsepower next time? Like, all of these things where I just map my foot halfway through the apexes. Like, I want a Mustang or the Cadillac. I'm good at the Cadillac.
Ooh, that sounds like a good idea. We definitely need to talk to Stevie Ray about that. I'd be up for calling it, that's for sure. All right, everybody, that is Miles Crabb finishing, here, let me correct myself, finishing second in the season championship in the GR86s. And great season for Miles and a great race tonight. Let's move over now to our second place finisher in the Toyotas. And he took the season championship. Can I correct myself enough now? And that is driver the number 231 machine, Beans Forster.
Beans, man, did you know how close the points battle was going into this thing, or were you just caring about getting the win?
Well, I mean, I always want the win, but I did know how close it was. I actually thought that that Miles was 4 points ahead of me, so I was making sure to run a 0x race so I can at least tie him with points if I could.
Well, it worked out. You were able to, I think, unofficially secure the championship. I don't know. Greg seems like he's giving it out to everybody tonight.
Yeah, everyone. I'm like Oprah tonight. Everyone's a winner.
Yeah, right. But yeah, you walk us through your race, man. You took the lead there from Miles, and then all of a sudden, Giancarlo kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, both races tonight, it's just Laguna's not my strongest track. It's one of my weaker ones. I've been trying to work on it and get better, but the track just kept getting hotter and slicker, and I wasn't able to kind of throw the car into the corners as confidently as I thought I could. So it was part of my pitfall for tonight, but I mean, I was able to at least kind of walk away with a second place and a 0x, so I'm happy with that.
Alrighty, well, congratulations once again. And is there anybody that you would like to thank for this season?
I just want to thank you guys for putting on such a good broadcast, all my fellow competitors, Team Watson Racing and Full Send Sims.
Alrighty, well, thank you, man, and we'll see you at the runoffs, and we'll see you next season, hopefully.
Yeah, sounds good. See you guys.
All right, there you go. Beans Forster finishing second tonight in the GR86s, and perhaps most important, taking the regular season championship in those GR86s. Now let's move over to our winner tonight in the Toyotas, and that is Giancarlo Score.
Giancarlo, man, you ran a whale of a race and was able to come from third to first there in the last couple of laps and secure the victory. Walk us through it.
Yeah, starting P2 on the outside, didn't have the best start. Beans got through me on the start there, so I got back to P3 and just started managing tires. Haven't driven that car in quite some time in a race, so I was just trying to get a feel for it, and then pick up the pace as the race went on. I think I saved some tires more than the other two guys did, and took my chances, and I was able to walk away with a win.
All right, well, it was a really good night for you. And is there anybody that you'd like to thank? I know you thanked people earlier, but hey, go at it again.
Yep, the same people, the friends and family that make this happen. I did forget, you guys for putting the show on, and Stevie Ray, of course, as well. And the guys at Parallel Racing Group, and then the guys at Race CPI, always supporting me. But thank you guys as well. Put on this great show. Can't wait to go back and watch the podcast later.
Alrighty, well, thank you, man, and we look forward to seeing you at the runoffs, and we'll see you next season as well.
Thank you.
All right, there you go, everybody. Giancarlo Score, your winner tonight in the Toyotas. Let's move over to Touring 4 in our Volkswagen TDI Cup cars. And this one I'm fairly certain of here, Jack. Let's bring in Megan Overstreet. She finishes third tonight on track, but I think more importantly, I think she came home with the regular season championship.
Yeah, congratulations, Megan. We think we're unofficial about it, but we're pretty sure that you won the championship. You had to battle out Michael Snow there. You had a 1-point advantage. Walk us through what you were thinking this whole race.
Oh, the entire race. Basically, I was just saying to myself, don't mess up. You messed up in the MX-5 race, spun yourself out. Don't do that in the Jetta race, too, and lose a championship.
Yeah, it's kind of what we were thinking there. You were kind of battling with Wan Chi a little bit, and I was talking to Greg, and I was like, I don't know, man. If you can get a gap behind her, I would just let him go and let him deal with all the Toyota lap traffic and all that. And that's what you're able to do, and you held a really clean race. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Alrighty, is there anybody that you'd like to thank for this season?
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody that puts this show on. Y'all do a fantastic job. My parents for watching all the races and cheering me on. Grass Paddock Motorsports for sponsoring us, and Stevie Ray for putting the league on.
Alrighty, well, thank you, and congratulations. We'll see you in the runoffs, and we'll see.
Win here tonight, it's Morgan Burkhardt.
Morgan, I think that you were able to finish 5th overall and pass a bunch of Toyotas. What was the difference between this and the other races that you've done in this car?
Well, I have a lot of experience with the Jetta at Laguna. I've done a lot of Jetta Cup races there when that was still a series, and it's one of the most popular combos for that car, especially when I started iRacing with the SimLab Production Car Challenge. I would just hop in the Jetta and go run a couple races a week at Laguna Seca. So I have a lot of seat time in it, and for whatever reason, the Jetta just kind of clicks with me. I've always been pretty quick with it, and it just, especially at this track, it just works.
Yeah, and I would say, going by the gap, I'd say maybe you had a boring race, but not really. I mean, looked like you were passing Toyotas and battling them pretty much the whole race, trying to move up, further up the grid.
Yeah, it's that's the thing about the multi-class racing though, is you got to really judge how much to go on day. I thank you guys. So I'll just go ahead and thank Stevie Ray, Greg Kubler for setting up this league, and I'll go ahead and thank you guys again. Sound real nice on the stream, make it all enjoyable to watch back after at least.
All right, well, we appreciate you, and we appreciate you racing season, and we look forward to seeing you at the runoffs, and we'll see you next season.
Cool, I'll see you then.
All right, there you go. Morgan Burkhardt. He knows where to butter his bread. A recognized driver or racing school, and for the licensed racer, a club race such as SCCA or NASA or Grid Life, and full and arrive and drive package. Those are going to be given away at the end of the calendar year. And it is going to be based on not only the number of races that you win, but also based on clean racing, performance improvement, and of course participation. And so cannot wait as we get closer to the time that we can give those away. And so next week we'll be talking about it a lot. We're going to be heading to Southern California and to Willow Springs Raceway, to the track known as Big Willow. And it is going to be our end of season runoffs, where we're going to have a 25-minute race for each one of our different classes. I believe we're still going to have the Toyotas and the Jettas teamed up and sharing the track. So it'll be 3 races, 25 minutes in length, next Tuesday night. That is July 18th, and I believe the start time will be 8 p.m., but maybe a few minutes later. If you go to the Apex Racing TV YouTube channel or to www.rayesportsracing.com, you'll be able to find out more. So for Jack Ritchie, for Lee Thompson behind the scenes, I'm Greg Ginsburg, and we will see you next Tuesday night from Willow Springs. Have a great, wonderful week, everybody.